Good morning. I welcome everybody, and especially Zend developers, Zend 1 developers who are now starting to get familiar with Zend 2. In this presentation I will show some information about configuration files in Zend Framework 2. And this is important in the first stages of getting familiar with the framework. When you download your first skeleton application and you start modifying and playing with it, your problems, if you encounter any, and it is likely you will have two sources. One source of the initial problems is the configurations files. You don't know where to find something or where to set something. And the second set of problems at the beginning is path and auto-loading, but this is out of the scope of this presentation. In Zend 2 the configuration is much different than it was in Zend 1. In Zend 1 you probably remember that nice ini file where you could put a lot of things and it worked. In Zend 2 the configuration is split across many files, and there is a good reason for it. Probably the most important reason is that in Zend 2 a module has become an important and independent entity. All development work in Zend 2 revolves around a development of modules. So as you can see, the list of 6 configuration files, which I have chosen to show you a typical example for the beginning, has two groups. The first 4, shown in black, are on the root level. That means these configurations files are valid across the whole application, while the last 2, the ones shown in green, are on the module level. By module I mean a module that has been written by a developer, and the values there pertain to the module itself. Let's see the details. What's inside. The first 2, global and local PHP, have something to do with staging. The global PHP will have configuration variables which are good in all stages, in testing and in production alike. For example, let's have a look. In global PHP you tell the system what database do you have. Do I have an Oracle or do I have MySQL? And also, and that's important and lots of work, is factories for the service manager. In local PHP you have, it also has something to do with staging. You have values which are different for production and different for testing. For example, username and password to access the database. The third file, application config PHP, has one important element. This is the list of modules that should be seen and executed in the application. If you develop a new module and if you don't enter it in this array, the module will not be seen by the application and will not be executed. In this module list you will include not only modules that you have developed, but also the modules that you have cloned from the GitHub and copied and want to use in your application. And finally, the fourth file is you will only have it when you have an external module installed in your Zend 2 application. External means that a module that does not belong to the core of Zend 2, a module that it's not written by you, but taken from the outside. In this example, I have a ZF user module, and these are configurations parameters for this external module. The last two configuration files, the one shown in green, are pertain to a module written by a developer. In this case, I have a module called my module, and the configuration is within two files. One of them, module config php, has invocables. Invocables are simply classes that you want to be seen and accessed in your module. And also router is another example what you may have in module config PHP. Router is telling, here you are telling the system how to build an URL. You specify here whether some URL parameters, the get parameters, should be numeric only or alphanumeric. All this will be defined in the router array in the module config PHP. And finally, module PHP, the last one is the most important one. The module PHP, if you do your configuration work, more than 50% of your time you will spend in the module PHP. 50% of your configuration work, not the total work. What is in module PHP? In module PHP is, in my example, I have included a listener, but it's much more. It is not the time to discuss in detail everything, every possibility that you can have in the configuration file, but a listener is a good example because it's a very powerful feature of Zend2, which did not exist in Zend1. And here I have defined a listener. That means a code with the purpose of logging something. And once within the function on Bootstrap, once you do this, you can access this from any controller. With one line of code you can log anything that you think it's worth logging. One important remark, the module PHP is a class. This is a configuration file where you define your configuration parameters within the functions of the class. There are on Bootstrap is just one function. There are more functions. I had no space and no time to discuss all of them. I have only shown getting autoload, get config or get service config. You will you should browse. You should look at the code of your skeleton application and see what's there and what can you do there. So, but to sum it up, the module PHP, excuse me, is it has a form of a PHP class, while all other configuration files are simple arrays. The configuration in Zend2 is done not as an XML, not as variables, but as array. Again, let's have a look. This is how an configuration array looks like in Zend2. Okay, this would be the first introduction to the configuration files on the Zend Framework 2. Thank you very much for your attention, and please contact caribation.com if you need more training or if you are interested in participating of our classes in the Dominican Republic. Thank you.